Iran saw hell arrive after secret attacks attributed to the United Arab Emirates hit targets inside Iranian territory, including the refinery on Lavan Island in the Persian Gulf. In a covert offensive that gained traction in the news this Tuesday, May 12, 2026. Just as the United States steps up its hunt for Islamic Revolutionary Guard networks and Israel resumes bombing positions linked to Hezbollah in Lebanon, the impact in Tehran is heavy because the pressure now comes not only from Washington or Tel Aviv, but also from nations in the Gulf itself, which have spent years under threat from drones, missiles, militias, and clandestine networks linked to the Iranian regime. And now they are beginning to react against key parts of the apparatus behind its oil, money, military command, and infrastructure. I'll tell you all about this in a moment, but right now, you'll want to be subscribed to the channel to stay well informed. Real-time information with the best journalistic quality ever seen and the Milson Alves standard of credibility. The most sensitive information is that the United Arab Emirates allegedly carried out secret attacks inside Iran, including a strike against the refinery on Lavan Island in the Persian Gulf at the beginning of April. Abu Dhabi did not publicly take responsibility for the action. Even so, the repercussions were strong. Because it puts a Gulf nation directly linked to an offensive on Iranian territory, at a time when Tehran is already facing pressure from the United States and Israel. Lavan Island has strategic importance because it houses infrastructure connected to the Iranian energy sector. There is no official death toll from this attack attributed to the Emirates. The Iranian regime realizes that its refineries, its routes, and its financial infrastructure are no longer protected just by distance or by the threat of retaliation. The blow hits a sensitive point of the regime. The reason for this regional reaction comes from years of Iranian pressure on neighbors and adversaries. The regime used militias, drones, missiles, ships, and clandestine networks to intimidate the Gulf, support armed allies, and expand its influence without taking on all the costs of an open war. Now the response is starting to come through different channels. Discreet attacks, sanctions, rewards for information, arrests of suspects, and bombings against allied groups. Iran, which tried to spread fear across the region, is now starting to feel that fear reverberate within its own ranks. The United States has opened a direct front against the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps' finances. The effort at this point is not just military. It's financial, legal, and intelligence related. This pressure also involves rewards. The Rewards for Justice program offers up to $15 million for information that helps disrupt the financial mechanisms of the Revolutionary Guard and the Quds Force. In March, Reuters also reported that Washington was offering up to $10 million for information about high-ranking military and intelligence officials linked to the Iranian regime. The logic is clear: expose those in command, cut off those who finance, and make it harder for those who support the machine behind Tehran's external operations to operate. Meanwhile, Israel has intensified attacks against Hezbollah in Lebanon. This Tuesday, Israeli aircraft struck areas in southern Lebanon and the Bekaa Valley. The Lebanese state agency reported that attacks in Gibchit killed 3 people and injured 4. The Lebanese Ministry of Health stated that since the beginning of the war in March, the death toll has reached 2,882 with 8,786 injured. Ahmed Galeb Balout's death underscores the impact of this offensive. Hezbollah confirmed that he died in an airstrike near Beirut on May 6, and Israel stated that he was the commander of the Hadwan force, the group's elite unit. This point shows that Israel is not only targeting isolated positions. The offensive is trying to hit the chain of command that links Hezbollah, Iran, and the Revolutionary Guard. For Tehran, each commander eliminated in Lebanon represents a loss of influence and greater difficulty in using the group as leverage against Israel. Hezbollah is trying to resist politically within Lebanon. The leader Naim Qassem asked the Lebanese government to abandon direct negotiations with Israel in Washington and advocated only indirect talks. He also stated that the group's weapons are an internal Lebanese matter. However, the Lebanese government began to demand an end to hostilities. Israeli withdrawal, the presence of the Lebanese army south of the Litani River, the release of prisoners, and the return of displaced people. The dispute shows a deep division. Hezbollah tries to preserve its military power, while Lebanon bears the human and political cost of the war. Saudi Arabia also entered this game. Reuters reported that Riyadh carried out secret attacks against Iran at the end of March in response to Iranian actions against the kingdom. The report indicated that this would have been Saudi Arabia's first known direct military action inside Iranian territory. This information deepens the shift in the Gulf. Nations that previously tried to protect themselves only through diplomacy are now starting to respond more forcefully when ports, refineries, bases, and trade routes come under Iranian threat. Bahrain opted for internal security measures. Local authorities announced the arrest of 41 people accused of links with the Revolutionary Guard and financing terrorism. The measure came amid tensions in the Gulf after Iranian threats against vessels and US bases. This kind of action shows that the pressure on Tehran doesn't happen only in major attacks. It also moves forward through investigations, arrests, and the blocking of networks that could serve as clandestine support for the Iranian regime in other countries. Recent history helps explain why Washington treats the Revolutionary Guard as a central target. In 2020, by order of Donald Trump, the US killed Qasem Soleimani, the head of the Quds Force, near Baghdad airport. The Department of Defense said the action was to protect Americans abroad. Americans abroad and classified Soleimani as the head of an organization designated as terrorist by the US. That episode showed that Washington was willing to target the top operational ranks of the Iranian apparatus when it assessed a direct threat. In 2026, the pressure appears more widespread. Sanctions, rewards, intelligence, regional allies, and attacks against the regime's external proxies. Another fact that weighs on the Gulf's memory is the 2019 attacks against Saudi oil facilities in Abqaiq and Khurais. At the time, the offensive reduced more than half of Saudi production for a few days and showed how drones and missiles could impact energy, the market, and security without a traditional declared war. The United States, Saudi Arabia, and European powers blamed Iran. Israel attacks Hezbollah to weaken Iran's military foothold in Lebanon. The US targets the Revolutionary Guard by going after its money, offering rewards, and imposing sanctions. Saudi Arabia, according to Reuters, reportedly responded with covert actions inside Iran. The Emirates, according to reports echoed by the international press, allegedly hit an Iranian refinery. Each front has a different method, but they all put pressure on the same center. The structure that allows the Iranian regime to finance allies, intimidate neighbors, and maintain regional influence. Tehran may still try to respond with new threats, but the reality has changed. Its networks, its commanders, its allies, and its infrastructure have entered a rare phase of exposure. This is Milson Alves News, and my purpose is to keep you well informed with the truth every day. The news links are in the video description. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and at the end, check out the comments so you can be even more engaged with the Milson Alves community.